everybody, and welcome to Chart Request Live. Happy Monday. I hope everybody had a good weekend after last Friday. I mean, wow, biggest crypto crash ever, Alfonso. Bigger than 2020, bigger than 2022. Never in history has more liquidity been drained from the crypto market. That was really something to watch. Our analyst chat on Slack on Friday was popping off. Everybody was on there talking about it. And man, I have to say, Alfonso, I am impressed with the resiliency of crypto. Bitcoin crashed right back to this key level of interest that you have highlighted on the chart, held that VWAP anchored to the April low, and it's bouncing back strong so far this week. Louis has been really pounding the table on the useless coin. I mean, what a wonderful name, useless coin, showing a ton of relative strength out there. Shout out useless coin. But Alfonso, what was your takeaway from Friday's action? Because there was a lot to unpack there.
What's up, Sam? If you want to start with crypto, I think the resilience in Bitcoin and the major coins stands out for me. The message I sent you guys Friday afternoon is, this cryptos needs to hold the VWAP from the April lows if the primary trend, if buyers wants to, keep in charge of the primary trend, and Bitcoin just retracing to this confluence of support, VWAP from the lows, shallow former highs from earlier this year. So this is a big level around 110 in Bitcoin. So as long that levels remains intact and prices above that area, the passive resistance for me is higher. And yeah, you mentioned the resiliency, and today we're seeing some big bounces all over the equity space. The S&P almost 2%, QQQ.
I think the IWM is the biggest one to watch here, Alfonso. It's at a big level. Friday's candlestick looked like a pretty decisive failed breakout above not only that October peak that you have highlighted there, but you can zoom out all the way to the prior cycle peak. This is a major level for small caps. And they're bouncing back this week, right back to the scene of the crime.
Yeah, a lot of big levels got tested last week. The IWM, I think it's probably the cleaner one right now. Not only the December highs from last year, but the 2021 highs, the prior cycle highs. Another chart that I was looking at, it was XLY, consumer discretionary failing here. And below overhead supply, and my big takeaway from today, from this week, and seeing some of these key sectors and a lot of charts challenging these former resistance high peaks is nothing good happens if you buy stocks below overhead supply at the end, right? You don't want to own this kind of chart as XLY, right? I would rather prefer for a breakout to happen here, see some strength back above these levels, looking for more conviction here. But yeah, I think, discretionary sector is probably one of the most risk-on groups of stocks out there. And let's see how, price digests some of this decline from Friday. So I'm interested.
Totally. And Alfonso, my man Larry Thompson, who has a show on Stock Market TV every Friday, Thompson's Two Cents, one of my favorite shows on this network. Larry is truly a mentor of mine, and I've learned a ton from him. And one thing he's doing with his charts right now, especially with something like XLY, is he's dropping the WAP from that prior peak that you have drawn
here.
No, like the December 2024 peak.
Oh, the V. Okay.
And then you don't have to do this, but you can also put a 200-day moving average on the chart, and you can put the WAP from the April low.
Right.
All of those major indicators are suggesting that they're all coming in at the same level, like you've shown here. So, like this is painful short term, but there is support not far away. So maybe it just comes down here and it turns into more of a cup and handle kind of pattern. So I think the structure is still bullish, but just very short term. Um, a little gross.
Yeah, I mean, and short-term corrections are necessary in bull markets. They happen. They are
Totally.
normal. Short-term like reset. Sometimes it's needed, right? To continue higher. I think that's the bet I'm making when I look at the IWM and small caps in general. I don't see the cycles ending without this chart breaking out and starting a new like higher and making a decisive breakout. That's the way I look at it.
Totally. I can't disagree with any of that. Alfonso, we've gave a few minutes here on what we're seeing in the markets. I think the people want us to start charting the tickers that they brought to us, because this is Chart Request Live, where our viewers bring the tickers and we bring the charts. We have a few tickers in our mailbag from the weekend, and if you are not familiar with the show, you can send us an email, questions@stockmarketmedia.com, and give us your ticker, and we'll put it in the mailbag for the next show. And once we get through the mailbag, we go over to the YouTube chat to take some requests from the audience. And I see we have a big audience today, Alfonso. We've got Frey Lee, a favorite around here, Mr. Frey Lee, Chef Aaron, Smart Money Bets. We've got Wavy McFly, Topher D. All the regular pounders are here, Alfonso. I appreciate all of you guys being here. Because you guys are what make this show such a wonderful experience, not just for you guys, but for Alfonso and I too. Selfishly, we're getting ideas from you guys too. So keep it coming. All right, Alfonso, let's get to the mailbag. We have, looks like 6 chart requests in the mailbag for today. First off, we have Alpha Trader wanting to see Roblox, which is RBLX. Roblox is surprisingly large, Alfonso. Take a guess at the market cap. I think you'll get it wrong, but
surprisingly large.
Yeah. This is a video game stock. Keep that in mind.
Yeah. 32 billion.
See, I would say something very similar, Alfonso. It's $87 billion market cap.
Wow.
87.
Okay.
I mean,
okay.
They're doing something right. The fundamentals are really explosive here too. This company is doing a lot of things right. I think it's a large holding in the ARK flagship fund, ARKK. I can do a little homework here while you're marking up that chart. I believe it's maybe the top 3 holdings. Let's see, I have it here right now. Looks like Roblox is not. It is like number 7. All right, it's fallen off a little bit here recently.
But look, the chart looks amazing, right?
It does, yeah. It looks fantastic.
So yeah, I mean, look, price has been in an absolute tier since the April lows, gaining let's say around almost 200%, right? In less than 6 months. And right now has been consolidating in a very nice way, in a very tight range, right below overhead supply, right below the prior cycle high from 2021. For me, this chart is, very simple to trade, right? Break it above 141, I will be in, and a continuation from this tight pattern will be set. That's the way I look at it.
Looks like it wants to do a little $200 roll.
Yeah, definitely. And look, this is a classic, like a pennant pattern here, right? Look at this monster move here. A very, tight consolidation, digesting some of the gains, some of the recent gains, right below a key resistance level, while buyers absorb all the overhead supply here before it breaks out. I see that. I can see that as an area coming, but we need to see a confirmation about 141. But 141, it's all in under Roblox. So
Totally, and I think you could also like drop the WAP from that one little um, scam candle there. Looks like that was in late July, early
yeah,
August.
I
Yeah,
like
I
it.
think that's also a good strategy. Like if you have conviction that this is going to break out and you want to jump that entry, I mean, I would be looking to buy it on a close above that. So you're
No,
not,
I love it. I love that idea. I love that idea, and I noticed how before this gap from October 3rd, this VWAP acted as support here, right, for a couple of days, for a couple of weeks, and now it's acting as a short-term resistance. So yeah, I agree with you. If you want to jump this breakout, any move, any close above that VWAP from the ultimate high from the July high. I think it's a good strategy. I think it's a good idea. And when you zoom out, we're talking about a monster base, right? The bigger the base, the higher in the space. A lot of upside potential here. Risk is very well defined. Nice short-term pattern. And yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
we've got some fundamental analysts in the chat, Alfonso. We have, let's see, Chef Aaron says his kids and nephews are all over the Roblox. So sounds like good fundamental analysis to me. And Mr. Zerby points out that Take-Two Interactive, one of the largest gaming companies in the world, is only $47 billion
Wow. Okay.
market cap
Okay.
compared to Roblox, which I mentioned earlier is $87 billion. So definitely an industry leader there.
This chart also looks good.
It does. It's already broken out to new all-time highs, but
yeah,
I'm sure if you looked at them in
looks...
relative terms, like Take-Two versus Roblox, I don't think it would be very close, Alfonso. I think Roblox is the clear winner in the industry. I mean, yeah, it looks exactly like that absolute trend we were just looking at.
Mm-hmm. It completely just a monster top in favor of Roblox, right?
Totally, yeah. Yeah, I'm bullish Roblox. That's a great request. Thank you for bringing that one to us, Alpha Trader. That's a great way to get the show started. And it's going to be hard to beat that, Alfonso. I mean, this is the early leader for the chart of the day.
Bro,
Alpha Trader coming in hot. Shout out, Alpha Trader. All right, next we have Root. That is ROOT. So Root is a smaller company. This one only less than 2 billion, $1.25 billion in market capitalization, and you have 19% short interest. So if the price holds at these key levels that Alfonso has outlined, the squeeze could be on in the Root, and this has been one of the biggest winners this cycle, Alfonso. If you want to just measure out that peak to or trough to peak move. So it's a big one, 5,000% for Root, an insurance stock. This is property and casualty insurance, and I have a feeling it's not like Allstate. It's probably has some funky technology going on there. Who knows?
Like a very well disturbed digestion here, right? So right now, this is the way I'm looking at it right now, right? As you mentioned, one of the biggest winners of the entire cycle. It's carving out what it seems to look like a short-term top here, right? We change the color here, but we have seen this pattern, all along the way through all the cycle, right? Short-term, upsy move here and rip higher, upsy move here, gap higher, and right now we're in a confluence of support. Former resistance back into April highs, July highs. But the big work from the all-time highs and the IPO, it's coming into play. The big work from the all-time lows is coming into play. And this is a big level. This is the break, this topping pattern breakdown level. So let's call it 80. If we're above 80, for me, the passive little resistance is higher, and it gives the bulls the benefit of doubt. Definitely, for sure, the primary upturn for me still higher. And if we are holding this level, bulls are in total control over multiple time frames. So this is one of the cleanest chart. This is one of the cleanest pattern here. We have seen this pattern develop and resolving higher in favor of the bulls, of course, into in multiple occasions during the cycle. And I like it. I really like it. I'm betting this top is not completing to the downside, and is basically not a top, and we bounce from here.
Yeah, that's great stuff, Alfonso. I love to buy weakness in the context of strong long-term uptrends, which is certainly the case here for Root. And I want to make the bet that this one's going to return to that prior cycle peak, just like everything else we've been betting on this entire cycle. Buy that initial bearish to bullish reversal pattern breakout, and then bet on the stock returning to that prior cycle peak. And that seemed kind of aggressive a few years ago when the stock was like $6, betting on it going back to 525. But that's pretty realistic now. Like, that could certainly happen. I mean, it's still probably a year away, but I mean, that's where my head is at with a pattern like this. It's a great chart.
Yeah, I don't know when we're getting back about, I don't know, like 500 back to the IPO level, right? But definitely if we're above 80 and this key level, I think the odds are higher for the REIT.
Totally, yeah. Shout out to property and casualty insurance. There's been some big winners there. Lemonade, another one that comes to my mind. But next up, we have AEP in the mailbag, Alfonso. Let's see how big AEP is. I think it's on the bigger side in the utilities space. So this is, $63 billion. This is a component of this is actually in the NASDAQ 100, the QQQ. And It's in the S&P 500, obviously in the S&P 500 utilities sector, the XLU. I'll do some homework, see how big this is compared to its peers. I have a feeling it's one of the largest in the XLU.
Oh, but this chart, it's looking good. It's looking good. We just broke out of a multi-year base. We got a pullback here, we bounce, we are making new all-time highs. And, it's very simple. If we're above 105, the passive resistance for me, it's higher. If you want to define a risk more, more in the short term, I think you can just draw, an horizontal line here from this peak from the summer around 115. So you can play with those two levels. And passive resistance higher here. That's a nice base breakout, pullback, bounce, new all-time highs. Very simple.
Totally.
Chart.
It looks great. Utilities just in general have been very resilient here recently. Getting re-rated, frankly. These stocks are not your grandfather's utility stocks. These are AI utilities, Alfonso. The game has been changed for them, frankly.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we were both in Dubai in the CMT, and in one of the discussions, they mentioned that utilities in this cycle they have changed, their role, right? They are not anymore those defensive stocks like staples, right? So you have a nice mix of some borrowing stocks, some low beta stocks, defensive in nature, but also you're including some high beta and new AI related companies out there. So it's a good mix there in the utilities, and I think that's interesting to point out.
Totally. Yes. This looks great. New all-time highs for the AEP. And you can also zoom in on the chart there. And it looked to me like it was green on Friday. Am I reading that right? I mean, Friday was a complete bloodbath for the markets.
It was green.
But AEP was up. It didn't care about sell-off in the market. This one's a beast. All right, Alfonso, we have a ticker request from Hanson in the mailbag. This is PPTA. with a 3-month time frame. This has
Okay.
been a darling of the gold rush. I mean, what a monster this stock has been. Go ahead and just measure out the trough to peak return so far this cycle, Alfonso, because man, it's had a hell of a run here recently. Over 1000% return. And this is kind of like,
What are your
it
levels
has the
here?
precious metals in it, but it's more like rare earth
Yeah,
minerals. I think,
and I have a question because I know you have been doing a great job, Gold Rush, pounding the table on all these names, updating levels every single week, hit targets got hit, and updating all these levels. And I'm just curious, are you will you look at the chart the same as me? This is a monster random bar formation. Will you zoom out a little bit? I mean, how have you played this name in the past? Because it has been ripping higher for over a year. Making multi-year highs. These stocks keep going up every time that I think, okay, they need a pause. They need to cool off. They need to digest some games. They don't, dude. They don't, and
totally,
they
Alfonso.
new
Yeah.
all-time highs.
Yeah.
I woke up this morning, gold making new all-time highs again. So it's really impressive. And again, in the CMT, a lot of people were bullish gold. I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, it's a trend that it's really hard to fight. And one thing that I liked about Ralph Campora's presentation was the simplicity of his analysis. It's just follow the trend. The market will tell you what to do at the end of the day. And I think the reason cycling goals are here. It speaks for that, right?
Totally. And this is really like as technicians, it's really easy to overthink something like gold, The trend has certainly gone parabolic. It's just been extraordinary, up only basically, whenever it consolidates, it doesn't go down, it just goes sideways. And like the
Yep.
momentum, you can look at like the monthly RSI is like above 90, I believe. And just
Yeah, it's crazy.
that's really easy to overthink and be like, fuck, man, gold is overbought. I should probably get out of this position. But, overbought conditions can stay that way for much, much longer than people expect. And, gold hasn't really given us a reason to think that it's going to go down. Just because there's an overwhelming amount of demand doesn't mean it needs to stop anytime. Like that's just bullish. Like I think the bearish case against gold is like that it's too good. People are making too much money. This can't be sustainable. But go back and study the previous cycles, man. Like look at 2001 to 2011. Like it just went up for an entire decade. Yeah, you had the great financial crisis in there, and that was a pretty significant correction, but aside from a global financial crisis where the world almost ended, I mean, it was up only for an entire decade in gold. So, I'm not saying gold needs to go straight up for an entire decade, but I think that is the context that investors are missing, is that this can last a lot longer than most people think.
Yeah. And one of the takeaways from the summit in Dubai was, these trends in commodities, tend to last longer than people can expect. And I think gold is nowhere near to end this cycle. To be completely honest, I think we can see some corrections. I know we will see it, of course, but this trend is definitely not over. Is not over. That's for sure.
Totally. All right, Alfonso, back to PPTA.
Yeah.
So, you had that one big horizontal resistance level that we're not very close to now. So is there any levels you define risk here, or should you just be hodling it, targeting that 37, call it $38 level from 2012, it looks like on this chart?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that if you wanted to, define risk, it was like at 15 or 16, right? It was when The ideal entry was when price pierced through the 2020 highs, around 16, 15. If you want to define risk, kind of potential pullback towards 24, that's a 61 retracement here. But I think we're in no man's land right now. We're into in the middle of that massive range between the all-time highs and the IPO and our risk management level around 15. So it's a little bit hard to define risk on this name, to be completely honest.
Totally, yeah. It is hard for technicians to analyze a chart that just goes straight up. We like to define risk at a shelf of former highs, for example, or a shelf of former lows. But that's not really something you can do with a chart like this. So
Right.
I don't know, maybe like a trend line could be helpful. Some type of like parabolic stop and reverse system could be helpful. I don't know. You have to get a little creative with a trend like this.
Mm-hmm.
But right now the price is making new multi-decade highs, so no reason to sell here. I would be targeting that $38 level. All right, Alfonso, that's a great looking chart.
I agree.
Next up, we have one from John. CCC, that's 3 C's and 1 X. This is Churchill Capital Corporation, supposedly kind of like rigatoni on steroids.
Wait. What's the market cap here? Oh, okay.
All right, John, bring in the heat today. The rigatoni on steroids. I like the way you talk, John. Chime in on the chat if you're around, because
yeah, so this is a
more.
Name,
Tell me more. Rigatoni on the steroids. That's awesome. Again, like we were talking about with PPTA, like a chart like this it's difficult for us to have anything to say on this. It's just gone straight up.
Yeah, we need more. We need more time. We need more time to get more data, and if this line keeps going up, it's nothing to say. To be completely honest.
Yeah, what a beast. What's the 14-day RSI on this one?
Like
you have to pinch your y-axis on it. It's like 95, 100.
97.
Gosh, what a beast. All right, John, bringing the heat to Chart Request Live. I appreciate it. All right, final ticker from the mailbag. We have an ETF, the Rare Earths ETF, REMX. Any thoughts on stocks within the sector would also be appreciated.
I mean, 15% today, that's huge. That's huge.
Totally. That's the old Trump pump. I think some of the stocks you can look under the surface are up closer to 50%. We were talking about this earlier in our internal Slack.
Do you have the top holdings from this ETF?
I can get it to you in 5 seconds here.
Nice.
Let me punch it up on my machine. REMX. The top holdings are Lithium Americas, number 1. Then you have LYC, number 2. MP as number 3. And Albemarle as number 4, which I believe is, in market cap terms, this is the largest in the industry group. We also have China Northern Rare Earth Group. I don't know if that one's tradable in the US, but this looks great, Alfonso. Brand new primary uptrend for this group.
Yeah, and this is a great example, of the multiple ways you can just like jump a trend reversal, looking for confirmation, right? So what I did here is, this ETF has been carving out a short-term, well, not short-term, bearish to bullish reversal pattern here, but in the summer, in July, it broke out of this trend line, this downward trend line that was, the first step of a classic trend reversal. It's, price tends to break some trend lines first, and then we can define risk on some horizontal levels, right? I also dropped the VWAP from the previous cycle highs. It was reclaimed as well, and now price is, just ripping through 38.2 retracement level. This is a valid trend reversal resolution, and the passive leg resistance is clearly higher. The RSI, in a bullish momentum regime, very simple here. If we're
It's kind of a nice like hedge against crazy Trump tweets as well. On Friday, Trump was out there fighting with the Chinese president about rare earth metals, and like a lot of things were getting hit on Friday. But I don't think all of these stocks were immune to that selling pressure, but some of them under the hood certainly did not look like this ETF. So I think from that perspective, it's also interesting. It's not just a bullish chart, but it can be a nice hedge against crazy Trump tweets.
Look, it's interesting. I don't know the name of this pattern here, this candlestick here.
I think that's the abandoned baby, Alfonso, isn't it?
Is it?
You get one gap down and then you gap up the next day and you abandon the baby down there?
You don't need like a dodge there?
No, I don't think it needs to be a specific candle formation.
No? Okay. Well,
No.
I will check the book later. But, this is nice. Bounce here at this horizontal line, up almost, over 14% today. That's impressive. So, the trend reversal is in place for these stocks. So
Totally, Alfonso. It looks great. I appreciate all the requests we got in our mailbag. That is all we have for today's mailbag. Let's get to the YouTube chat. I know we have a lot of chatter there today. We don't have much time, Alfonso, so I will just list off a few tickers for you, and you pick one or two to go over, and we will wrap the show up. But for Mr. Zerby, we have CENX from Mr. Zerby. We have Service Now from Creasy Bear. We have Soundhound from Joseph. Joseph also brought the Cisco. Topher D brought the SRAD. Smart Money Bets brought the ABAT. Frey Lee wants to hear about coal. Mark wants to hear RCAT. Is that enough for you, Alfonso? Should I keep going? I think that's about all we have. We also have the Lore. I know that's a hot AI stock. Rocket Lab. We've got Dr. Phil Perlman chiming in on the chat.
What's up, Phil?
Got IWM. Phil, you missed the beginning of the show. We spent a whole 5 minutes talking about the IWM. So, where have you been? Lore, holy cow, look at this chart, Alfonso. This looks great.
This is beautiful. For a short-term options trade. I like it. Hopefully there is some liquidity here on the chains. But look, the viewer from the all-time high, from this high, coincide with this pattern, with the top of this pattern, and it break at about 80, 81. And I think we can see some explosive move in this name to the upside. Really nice chart pattern here, and viewer from the all-time highs, capping all the advances in the previous months. It's really,
this is kind of like your bread and butter pattern at breakout multiplier, isn't it, Alfonso? Like just this tight coil that it looks to be the final challenge before the stock enters a new leg higher. So isn't this exactly what you look for?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what we're looking for is short-term consolidations, because remember, when from compression in volatility and in price comes expansion. So that's what we're looking, right? And I think when we have this charts, we have these stocks. When you drop the VWAP and the VWAP it's right there, you can use it as a confirmation. I think it makes it even better, right? Not just here in the past. We find here,
and this VWAP is really helpful for timing it too, right, Alfonso? Because like you guys are trading very short-dated call options, like you can't really mess up the timing. You have to get the timing right. So this
that's
chart,
true.
not only could it lead to a big upside move, but you'll know that exact candlestick that you need to enter on.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, and sometimes you can have some failed moves here about the VWAP, but usually, it's a very short fail move here. The next candle, you're back below it, and right now we're there, Sam. Right now we're there. This is a line chart, and I think we will see an explosive move in the lower, to be completely honest. So this is a very, very good setup here. I really like it.
Totally, me too. This might be chart of the day. It's the short-term chart of
this
the
chart.
This came from, we've got Trey Bailey in the chat, brought along the lore. So
Nice.
shout out to you, Trey. This is a great chart.
Awesome.
You are fishing in the right pond, my friend. And it looks to me like the lore. I'm not really familiar with this one, but it's a $7.5 billion. It's listed as aerospace and defense.
And do we have any short interest in this one?
No, I was looking at that actually. I was hoping there would be, but no, that is not the case. Yeah, looks like they actually are an aerospace and defense stock. So, yeah, amazing chart there. Probably one of the best in the aerospace and defense industry group. You want to finish with one more, or should we end there, Alfonso?
Yeah, let's do. I saw the Soundhound in the chat, and
yeah,
I mean
the Soundhound, I can tell you, has some short interests. So let me pull up those stats here real fast as you mark up the chart, Alfonso. So Soundhound AI is a $7.75 billion stock with 32% short interest, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, that's near the all-time high, which is like 35%. So it's right there, a stone's throw away from a new all-time high in short interest. So, positioning is wildly offsides on this chart. And, knowing nothing about the fundamentals of this company, this is a chart we buy all day, Alfonso.
We are right there, right?
Yeah, this is like you can mark this up as some type of cup and handle pattern. I know you have that nasty failed breakout earlier this year, but I mean, structurally, there's absolutely nothing bearish about this chart. So I don't know what these short sellers are looking at, but I think they're about to get steamrolled in something like Soundhound. So.
No, this is a great chart. We failed, back in December to break out of this base. The stock and price itself, basically telling us that it needed more time before breakout of this, massive base above the IPO high. And right now we're right there. And the risk level for me, it's very simple here. 18, if we're above 18, I think the Soundhound, the passive level resistance is higher, marking up to targets. The upside potential in this name is huge. And, the thing can go, like 400%, 300% in a matter of months. I remember very well.
It helps when you have the most short interest ever to do that.
That was great. I remember, we put a trade back, last year for breaking multiplier in this name. It paid off, very, very well. So this is a name that moves fast. And I think we're, on the brink of a new higher here. If and only if we stayed above 18. Below 18, I will leave it alone. It will need more time. But above 18, I like a long, and a huge upside potential here on this name.
Totally. And this one comes from, looks like, I had it here in the chat just a moment ago. Soundhound. It came from Joseph. Joseph.
Nice.
Shout out to Joseph. This is also a candidate for the chart of the day on Chart Request Live. So, I mean, Alfonso, what can I say? The crowd here is amazing. They are looking at the right charts. I think we have taught them well, my friends. So I'm really proud of the community that we've built here, and I really appreciate all of you being here and bringing great chart requests. And if we did not get to your ticker request in the YouTube chat, Don't hesitate to email us questions at stockmarketmedia.com, and we will put that in the mailbag for the next episode of Chart Request Live right here on Stock Market TV next Monday at the same time as today. But Alfonso, before we hop, what was your chart, your favorite chart today? I mean, there were a lot of
The,
great tickers.
the Roblox.
Roblox. All
Yeah,
right.
I
Okay.
like this pennant here, how price is absorbing all the overhead supply at this key resistance level. The risk is very well defined. We're talking, we're combining a short-term pattern, energy is building right below the resistance, and we're also, zooming out, and we're, seeing a big pattern, big base here, and any break at about 141, all in the Roblox. How about you?
Totally. I will go with the lure, the aerospace and defense
Ooh,
stock.
okay. I like it, man. I
And
like
there
it.
were a lot of good tickers today, but that short-term coil. I mean, this one looks like it wants $100, Alfonso. This looks
Definitely.
great. It's so
No,
well
it's a great
defined
chart.
there. Uh,
It's a great
and
chart.
you said it really well. From volatility compression comes volatility expansion. So I think a breakout here above that VWAP anchored to the May peak, I think could result in a quick leg higher towards 100. So I like that a lot. I'm going to keep that on my radar.
Oh, I like it.
Shout out.
Good takers this week. Really good
I
takers
mean,
here.
amazing tickers. I hope this wasn't the peak in Chart Request Live tickers. I hope everybody comes
Definitely
back
not.
next
It's
week with
definitely not a
even.
peak. Trust me.
I have a feeling it's not, Alfonso. We have a pretty good audience here. Really appreciate all of you guys again from the bottom of my heart for being here and making this such a great experience for Alfonso and I. We're going to come away from this show with a lot of ideas. We're looking at thousands and thousands of charts each week, but even charts like Lore and Roblox can slip through the cracks. So this community here ensures that nothing slips through the cracks with Alfonso and I, and we greatly appreciate all of you guys' help in our analysis. So once again, Mr. Zerby, Mark Noller, we've got Creasy Bear in the chat, Bill, Trey, Dr. Phil Perlman in the chat today. I think that was the first time I've seen Dr. Phil in the chat, so that's pretty cool. Everybody, I thank you for being here, and I hope you'll show up again next Monday here on Stock Market TV for another great episode of Chart Request Live. Until then, have a great week, and we will talk to you later.
Thank you, everybody.